Mr. Greg Sestero to the stage here at Sinister Creature Con.
Oh, hi everybody.
Hi, Mark. Now, if you go back and you are a fan of Love Horror and what Tim and Brian does, if you go back, if you took part in the virtual SAC Horror, you actually got to see Greg and I talk a lot about The Room, and you got to see him mention that he is actually really working on several different horror movie projects. And so I promise we will save room for you guys to ask him about The Room, but I really want to hear about this new film that you guys just wrapped up, and you said it's centered around a cult, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been fortunate to be part of like one of the most bizarre cinematic cults ever. And I've been to two cons in my entire life, and they're both horror cons, and I think The Room does kind of fit in as a horror movie. But actually, I love horror films like I'm sure all of you do. You know, Midsummer, Hereditary, Halloween, Psycho, they all inspired me to move to the desert, live in this like hill house on a ranch, and write this script, researching cults. And we were just about getting ready to make it in November of 2019, and my DP said, hey, you know, I don't think we're ready. Maybe wait until the spring of 2020 and then we'll really go for it. And I remember thinking, you know, you're never going to be quite ready to make a horror film, so let's just go for it, because we don't know what might happen a few months down the road.
Yeah.
So sure enough, we made it, and then we spent 2020 editing it. But it's about a real-life cult in the Arizona desert that traffics humans for very, very weird reasons. And nobody really knows about this cult. I stumbled by this like abandoned church on the Mexican border. I pulled up to it, and these two guys came out with like shovels and asked me what I was doing there. I said I was lost. And they said they were part of a cult from the 1980s that was going to come back stronger than ever. So there's that.
And what year is that happened when you pulled off?
This was 2019.
Holy smoke. So like right before you guys went into actually doing it, filming the movie.
Yeah, I mean, we pulled it off just before the pandemic. So
the film, when you make a film like The Room that is so enigmatic and it's such a cult classic, your guys' name, Tommy's name, and your name, people will automatically associate that movie with you guys forever. It's just the way it is. It's like Tim Curry and Rocky Horror Picture Show. But you branching off and making horror films, you could make any other genre out there. Are you a lifelong just like horror kid? Like that was your favorite genre growing up? What was it that made you like, I want to make a horror movie?
yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, I loved. And then I figure with horror, it's the one genre that you can try anything. And a lot of times you'll be forgiven. And also you can take the most risks. And I feel like coming out of something like The Room is really, you know, it's not easy, because you can't go in and make something that's so bad it's good again in the same way. So I figured to try something totally different, and horror is something like you guys, you'll support people taking risks and trying to tell different stories, and you can actually try to make something that's good, throw in a little bit of gore, and then I feel like you have a whole new audience.
It's not everybody who ever gets to say that they've gotten to work on both sides of the camera. So what has that been like for you? Yeah,
I mean, making this movie helped me understand Tommy a lot more. And again, hopefully it's, you know, it's just as good as The Room, but like, this is the first time I like wrote, produced, starred. I just did the whole thing, and it was, it's really an insane thing to try. So it really helped me understand Tommy, you know, trying to go for it. But one of the things I learned from making The Room is you really need help. You got to trust your team and like be able to, you know, collaborate. And so I feel like we were able to do that.
You know, my buddy Jay, who is not able to be here today, he texted me and asked me to ask you this. So I don't know if this is true or not, but did you write a script, a draft for Home Alone 2 Lost in Disneyland?
Yeah, Disney World.
Disney World.
I took this vacation to Disney World, and then the same year I saw the movie Home Alone, and I was like, I didn't really want to be in school. I wanted to be like living in Home Alone, and I also wanted to be in Disney World. So I said, screw it. Instead of doing my homework, I'm going to write a script, and I'm going to put a part for myself in this movie opposite Macaulay Culkin. We'll be like buddies. And no joke, my character name that I gave myself was Mark. So I must have some sort of like power envisioning, obviously. And then I got to meet Macaulay Culkin, and I went to Disney World thereafter, so it all worked out. But yeah, I called 20th Century Fox, called 411, got their number, and then I tracked down John Hughes' company in this small city in Illinois, and I sent him the script with like a photo and a cover letter, and obviously didn't get made, but he sent me this really nice note back that I thought, all right, I'm gonna keep trying to track Macaulay Culkin down and get this movie made. But it was the first time I felt like excited about doing something, and so from that point on, I wanted to try to make movies.
Anybody from Disney Plus ever sees this, hit this guy up.
Dude, they made a new Home Alone movie.
Yeah.
And it I'm sorry, but no offense. Filming in Disney World would have been the way to go with Macaulay Culkin and myself, as like fighting off Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci. But, people are very strange these days.
It's $1 million idea.
So let's open it up, because I know some of you guys have probably got something burning that you want to ask this guy about his experiences. So does anybody have a question for Greg? Yep, right here in the front row.
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry if I steal this question from anyone else, but I just got to ask, what's up with the picture of the spoon?
So, one of the things when you make a movie, you have like a set designer who comes in, they've designed the set. If it's a living room, they got like pictures of the couple. It makes it look like lived in. But what we did is we walked on Fairfax Boulevard in LA, and there was a furniture store, and Tommy just looked at like the mock-up bedroom, and he's like, oh, that looks nice, I like fountain. So he bought that furniture and had it shipped to the set, and we just threw it on a set. So there was no like decor, and the script supervisor was like, hey, let's try to make this place look lived in. Like maybe there's pictures, or maybe there's like some decoration. And Tommy's like, oh, audience don't care about that. So one of the people ran to like a store and bought frames, and in those frames were stock photos of spoons. And so they're like, let's take a photo of you and Lisa and put it in the frame. And Tommy's like, we don't have time. So they just put the frame on the table, and it was a picture of a spoon.
So you mean it was like one of those stock photos of a family playing tennis or something like that?
Yeah, it was a stock photo. So then when like the movie first came out, one of like the 9 people that saw it was this college film student named Michael Rousselet, and he's like, wait, why is there a picture of a spoon? So he kept yelling spoon, and then it caught on, and then he brought plastic spoons, and they started throwing the spoons anytime they saw that photo. It's so weird, but it works. Around the world, I was in Spain, I was in Japan, people throw spoons at every single screening.
It's like the toast at Rocky Horror.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's as weird as everything else.
A very satisfying answer, thank you.
Yeah.
So outside of like mainstream, not here and on screen, what are some of your other horror movie makers, maybe on like the trouble type of side that you enjoy?
I've seen so many like small horror films. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. The trauma stuff is always great. I think it was Toxic Avenger. I saw that when I was like in 8th grade. Let me think about it. I know there's a bunch, but I've just been studying like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, I feel like the first Halloween was very much an indie.
Oh yeah.
Very much an indie film.
Absolutely.
And then they've obviously commercialized it. The Thing is something I really liked as well. They Live. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even see it. Yeah. I rewatched that one recently, and it's amazing. So.
Roddy Piper, man, Roddy Piper.
Anybody else? Yeah.
yeah, what was the last thing you said?
That your movie, Miracle Valley was the first movie to film at Falling Water House.
Yeah.
How did you pull that off?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the new horror movie that I wrote, directed, starred in. I was in Pittsburgh doing a show, and I've always wanted to visit Falling Water, the Frank Lloyd Wright house, because I always thought it'd make like a great like cult setting for a movie. I mean, it's built on a waterfall. It's an interesting spot. And a good buddy of mine, we got a private tour to go there, and I was like, wouldn't it be insane to film here because no movie's ever filmed there. And so I guess they had known about The Room and Disaster Artist, and I kind of loosely brought it up. I was making a new film, and they seemed semi-open to it. They're like, get in touch. You need to send a letter and do all that stuff. I was like, I need to tell them I'm making a family drama. So anyway, I did the whole presentation thing, sent a letter, went back for a meeting and talked about it, and they were incredibly cool. They did tell me it's a World Heritage Site like the Taj Mahal, so we need to keep that in mind. And I was like, dude, I would think like Hitchcock, Spielberg, probably all those guys have wanted to film here. They haven't been able to, like shoot James Bond. And sure enough, the first movie ever filmed there was a Greg Sestero horror film. But
That's pretty rad.
But no, it was one of those things where, sometimes you just got to ask. I think what was Woody Allen said, or whoever, 90% of success is just showing up, and presented in the right way, and we got to film there for a full day, which was incredible, and hopefully I think it gives a nice touch to the movie. So, but yeah, no, it was really cool because I Frank Lloyd Wright, I think in North by Northwest, there's an homage to Falling Water. That house at the end, I think, was like an homage to Falling Water. But yeah, no, it was really a really cool experience.
Anybody else? Sure.
You guys have any reviews on the film Big Shark?
Yeah, so I think when we made that movie Best Friends, I had the idea to make the movie, and I thought maybe it's smart to like try to shoot a few scenes before we actually go do it. So for 3 days we shot like a script for a trailer, and then we made the trailer and we released it, and people seemed really excited. I was like, oh shit, now we gotta actually go make the movie. So we made the movie and we used none of the footage from the trailer, so people are like, wait, what was that trailer like about? So Tommy thought that was kind of his clever idea, not bad. So he got the same idea to do a shark movie and shoot a concept trailer. So we shot for 2 days near New Orleans in a water tank, and Tommy was like splashing water everywhere in our clothes. And I was having to take a long trip, and that was like the only jacket I brought. So it was like soaking wet. It was everything you'd expect on a Wiseau project. And then he put the trailer, like he started showing it in theaters, and somebody leaked it, so everyone thought it was a real movie. So it was like 2.5 years ago. We still have not made the film, but people think it's a real movie. So now we're stuck in the process of having not made the movie. So I don't know. I think the shark got COVID at some point. We had to stop. Someday.
Yeah, all the way in the back, but you can take your mask off and stand up and shout so we can hear you. Can you come up a little bit closer? Yeah.
So it was in an acting class in San Francisco. I had been close to getting a few roles, and I was kind of in a frustrated point where you're like working really hard, you're auditioning, you're going to acting class, and you're not quite getting the things you want to get, and then this man walks up on stage and starts performing, and I felt like when I saw it, all my troubles went away. And I'd been in acting class for several years at that point, and when other actors would go up on stage, I would sort of zone out because you just felt like you were watching acting. And I'm like, okay, I was thinking about what I was gonna do when I went up there, but when he went on stage, I was like, holy shit, like, what is this? I need to find out what this is. And like the other people in class weren't as receptive to it. They were sort of weirded out, but I was like, I just need to find out who this guy is. And sure enough, like I was gonna quit acting class because I didn't get this part. And the only reason I went to class was to watch him perform. So I was sort of like the first fan, I feel like. And I just approached him because I thought like, I just want to talk to him, find out what his deal is. And he like looked at me like I was kind of off. And I was like, hey dude, let's work together. Let's do a scene. He's like, okay. I'm like, oh yeah, we can try. And I became like hooked. We met up the first time like to rehearse, and he asked me to meet him at a bank. And then he was like 30 minutes late. He pulls up in this really nice car, and I'm like, I expected him to show up in a hearse, like personally. And he shows up in this really nice car, and I'm like, nice car. And he's like, don't talk about it. And so yeah, from that point on, I just like, it was just, I'd call him like as much as I could get, as often as I could do to hear what he was doing, what he had to say. You know, and it's been 23 years. So anytime you go see an acting class, you never know what could happen.
Did he come and visit the set of the horror film at all?
I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I always try to give him a chance in something I'm doing, but you know, it was kind of a tight schedule, but you know, then COVID happened. But he was like, you know, I see you direct movie now. Interesting, so you're a director now. And I was like, yeah, you know. He's like, what do you mean, yeah, you know? Are you director or not? I was like, I don't know, Tommy. We'll wait. Just wait and see it. Okay, why don't you have trailer? You know, trailer important. I was like, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Anybody else have a question for Greg they want to ask him?
Oh, really quickly before I forget. So, horror-wise, like that's all I've been doing. Randomly, I did Haunting of Bly Manor. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that. Then I did a movie called Cyst, about a killer cyst that also stars George Hardy from Troll 2, which did festivals last year, which is a really fun film. And then I did my very first film here in Sacramento, a movie called Infrared. This was like last April. It's like a found footage paranormal movie, and that was a really, really fun time. It's totally different. It was made by a local filmmaker. He's right over there. His name's Robert. But so yeah, all I've worked on is horror, and I think so. You guys will have a few surprises, stuff to look forward to. You'll always have the room if you want it, but hopefully you'll get just as many laughs with this and a little better production value. No spoons, I don't think.
Still, answer the question. Answer a great question. Thank you.
Actually, there is a spoon in the new movie. Never mind. I won't spoil. Yeah, if you guys have a question for Tommy, I'll do an impersonation of Tommy exactly how he would speak if he was here. So any question, don't be shy. My God, they're so scared.
I have one for you, Tommy.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Moderator, he take over.
Tommy, all these years later, The Room is loved by so many.
My God, he gave me compliments. So nice.
Do you think that Tommy Wiseau
It's Wazo, I correct you. I'm sorry.
Wazo, excuse me. Will Tommy ever be able to do something that catches the attention of film fans like The Room?
Of course, yeah. Well, you know, let me correct you. Tommy make many movie, you know, and you know, Room is all American movie. You know, we make new movie, big shark. You know, original material. Hollywood is afraid. That's okay, but you know, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry I have to tell you, Tommy will make big movie, and you will be scared. You will not sleep for 2 weeks. What about that?
Anybody else have a question for Mr. Wazah? Yeah.
Will there be any more billboards based around the city, perhaps?
Yeah, I study marketing. It doesn't happen by itself. I study street, I study design, and it doesn't happen by accident. People think it just happened. It does not happen by accident. We study retail and we get reaction. Billboards stay for 5 years. Maybe we put for 10 years. It's too expensive. It's rip off, but it worked.
How old are you, Tommy?
This is a very rude question. We move on,
Yeah.
I forget. Is it Weissau or Wiesau?
It's no comment.
All right. What was it like working with Tim and Eric?
We're not on the same page, but they're nice people. They give me a job. I do my best. And, the room is the room, and Tim and Eric is Tim and Eric. That's the story. This is turning into a horror film as we speak.
In The Disaster Artist, the way that they depicted it, you leaving home, like your mom was pissed that you were just gonna go move in with this guy. Like,
Yeah, she had met him at the acting class one night, meeting me there, and she just thought something's a little clandestine, a little shady. But they had the Euro connection, and I think she noticed it was like I had to take a shot at something.
Yes.
And, I think she semi-trusted my judgment, and I think she knew that if it came down to like a UFC fight, I'd be okay, against him.
Yeah.
No, she was definitely concerned. As as the years have passed on, I would be very concerned too.
when you wrote the book, did you have any idea? I mean, everybody, when I interview a director, filmmaker, producer, and you ask that question, it's kind of like a very easy question for them to answer because it's always the humble no. But you writing this story, which spawned it becoming the film, it is a story that, it's one of those stories that had to be told. Is that what made you decide to write it?
Yeah, I just knew, the story behind the movie was a great story that was just as insane as The Room, but if you captured it right, it would sort of be what The Room was supposed to be. It's like a love story, it's a tragedy, but it's got a lot of heart. So I knew that story could be the Hollywood movie, like an Ed Wood or Sunset Boulevard or Boogie Nights. And that was the goal from day one. I thought, what a great challenge. Take being in something that's so bad and turn it into something that's actually relatable to all of us.
Yeah.
It's about a friendship, it's about following your dream. And that was a challenge. And I said, okay, I want to write this book and I want it to become, a New York Times bestseller. I want it to become a movie. And then I was like, am I becoming Tommy? Like, that's what he was trying to do with The Room. He's like, this is Oscar, Best Academy Award. And I was like, hey, one thing I learned from him is think big, do your research, and go for it. And I collaborated and found people that could help me get there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, good question. I mean, hey, I think you'd agree with me on this. The parts that I found most fascinating about the book, and I felt strongly it would get made into a movie because I knew an actor would want to play the role of Tommy. I knew that was like, somebody would want to go there. And to me, the parts of the book that were the most compelling were the backstory. Like, pulling up to San Francisco, who was that guy? How did he find his way to when I met him? Like, that period of time is so fascinating even to me that I would have loved to have seen those parts in the film. And actually, when I got to work on Bly Manor, really the whole reason I was able to is because Mike Flanagan was a fan of the book, and I didn't know this, but he had tried to get the film rights to The Disaster Artist, but we had already gone with James Franco and Seth Rogen. So I asked him, what would have been your version? And he did say, I really love the backstory of like those early days of like Tommy selling toy birds, and how did he get to that person that I met? And so that part I felt like would have been fascinating. But again, it would have been a whole different movie. And I think the movie as it stands on its own right now is something that, you know, anybody can watch and find entertainment in.
Sure.
You mean when I moved from SF to LA? So I had gone down to LA. My brother was like interviewing dental schools, and he had an interview at USC. This is like December. So I met Tommy in September of '98. This is like January, December of like '97. And so he was going to interview USC. I went with him just to see what LA was like. We stayed downtown, which is not a great area, and I started looking up trades for auditions, and it just felt impossible. I was like, who am I kidding? Like, why am I gonna even try to do, where do I start? And then I went to some agents, like open calls, and I just showed up at places, and it was like, no chance. Like, you couldn't get in. I tried to crash a few places. They're like, referral only, you need referrals. It just seemed like LA, like this is never gonna happen. So I went back to San Francisco, and I got an agent in the city and started just auditioning, getting headshots, like just starting to like get the ball rolling. And then I met Tommy in July of '98, and we became friends. And when we went to LA together the first time, it was so different. It was like everything had shifted. It almost felt like the doors open, and I felt like I could actually do it. So it was almost like I was meant to experience that, feeling so discouraged. It pushed me to go back to San Francisco and try other things. And then when I met Tommy, it was almost like I had a friend, somebody, because he was so out there that it felt like rules didn't count. So when I went to LA with him, it was like I sort of had this like magician that made all my fears go away and said, fuck it, like go at it with a different attitude. And then like it worked, because all the things I couldn't do, I got an agent, and I started auditioning. It was like those things kind of loosened, and it was a totally different experience. So I think having support, having like the right mental attitude and a friend really makes a difference when you're trying to pursue something.
We have time for like one more question. Does anyone have a question that they want to get in?
Last chance, ladies and gentlemen.
Otherwise, when can we see the new film?
So it's going to be doing festivals starting in October, and then hopefully I'm going to try to do a sneak preview screening up here at like the Tower Theater in Sacramento.
Right on.
Try to make it easier for you guys. I know you guys have traveled so many places to support us, so hopefully we'll be able to do something up here, easy, and do something fun. So.
Right on. Well, Greg, we thank you for taking the time out to talk with us today. Hope you have a rest of a good time at your table. Go over there, say hi to him before he takes off for the night, and we thank you guys for coming in. Give it up.
Thank you guys. Thank you.